Tunneling, the act of eliminating one survivor as quickly as possible while ignoring their teammates. Of all the strategies that a killer can use in Dead by Daylight, tunneling is likely the most hated, possibly only placing second to slugging, but that's for another video at another time. And look, here's the thing, I don't personally mind tunneling. Dead by Daylight is a game where two teams work to defeat one another, and as long as there's no cheating involved, I really don't care which strategies either side uses. Tunneling is fair, counterable, and viable at the end of the day, and while it doesn't necessarily feel good to be the one getting tunneled, it also doesn't feel good to get gen rushed as a killer or just get generally cooked. Sometimes these things are going to happen to both sides, and there's just really nothing you can do about it but keep your chin up and move on to the next one. Ultimately, DBD is a video game intended for personal enjoyment, so if you find yourself getting too heated about tunneling, slugging, gen rushing, flashlight clicking, or any of that nonsense, just put the controller down, take a walk, go pet an animal, go say hi to a friend, go do something else, just take a break. Hey, go play Civ for a while. Matthew Cote was right, he caught flack, but he was right. Still, I know some people really hate tunneling, so I thought I'd make this video to serve as a handy guide to know if you're about to get tunneled or not. Obviously, this will not have 100% accuracy all of the time, but after 7+ years in the fog, I'm pretty confident I know what to expect from different killer mains. So, without further ado, let's break this down and answer the question, are you about to get tunneled? I've broken the likelihood of tunneling down into 5 categories, those being probably fine, not looking great, and definite tunnel. Now, there are 2 single entry categories, so let's get started with one of those and put the Skull Merchant in the category of literally impossible to know. You may think that this is me taking yet another shot at Scully, because, I mean, I do take quite a few, but actually I feel bad for her here, and specifically for her mains. It's not really about her, I guess, it's her players. I feel bad for her players. Would they tunnel? Would they be merciful? Would they, could they, should they? The world may never know. Even after the update, people still either DC immediately or game end as soon as possible against her. Nobody knows what she would do because nobody's around to see it. It's tragic, yes, but I'm sure the entity is proud. Still, she gets her own category just because of that. Checking in on the probably fine category, we have 9 killers listed here. Unknowns don't generally tunnel because they're better off teleporting around the map and causing chaos with their projectile. It does seem like a lot of their mains play to win, but they don't have to tunnel to do that, generally speaking. You should expect ample gen slowdown perks though. That is definitely something I noticed with unknown players. Pinhead players also don't tunnel all that often as their main priority is and always will be the box. The only way you're getting singled out is if you constantly go for the box, which given the state of solo queue, I guess is not entirely unlikely, to be fair. Oni, Blight, and Legion are 3 killers where it's not unheard of for them to tunnel, but they're better off spreading the pain, and that's what they usually do. Oni wants to down multiple people with Demon Dash, Legion mains just want to go zoom, and Blight is one of 2 killers where they don't even have to tunnel to win consistently. There are sweaty Blights who tunnel, they do exist, but I find them to be generally rare. Speaking of killers who don't have to tunnel, Nurse. She has a reputation for tunneling in some parts of the community, but I have never personally found this to be the case. Pro nurses tunnel in comp, yeah, but everybody tunnels in comp, so I don't really count that. In pubs, nurses don't really tend to tunnel because their chases are either so short that they don't have to tunnel, or they're so long that they couldn't tunnel if they wanted to. Definitely a case of mistaken identity here, like a shark looking up at a surfer. I also don't really find Michael Myers players to be all that tunnel inclined. His power all but demands that he focuses on multiple survivors, so really your threat with the shape is not getting tunneled. It's actually that you're going to get insta-killed the first time he sees you. Same kind of goes for pig mains, who are rewarded for giving party hats to various survivors, and also piggy players are just generally wholesome. So I don't really recall a ton of tunnels at her hands. Last for this category, there's the Hillbilly, who is a cool combination of Legion and Pig mains in that Billies just want to go fast. And, like Pig, they're super chill. So maybe he'll attract some sweats now that he's gone Super Saiyan, but I certainly hope not, because right now he's generally fun to play against. Our next category is our largest and consists of a whopping 16 killers. That is almost half of all the killers, but this is the not looking great category, and we'll start with Vecna, who has only been in the game for a short while, but is already getting quite the reputation as the sweatiest sweat whoever sweated sweat. I'm gonna give his community a grace period to chill out, but if this video ever gets updated and they still haven't changed their ways, straight to jail. Trapper and Bubba also make this tier. It's true that they have every chance to be goofy and lighthearted, but there's also a good chance that they will hang you in the basement like a juicy cut of prime beef and make it their life's mission to ensure that you never escape. That sounds more like camping, yes, but I promise you, if you manage to escape their funhouse somehow, they will follow you. Another sad case is Freddy, whom I mostly feel tunnels out of necessity. The Freddophile has been very bad for a long time, and to be blunt, he doesn't beat decent teams without playing things a little nasty. Not that being nasty has ever been an issue for him. Some killers are simply too good at tunneling to expect them to ignore it, so let's list Huntress, Spirit, Twins, and Wesker as examples of that. Huntresses either camp and tunnel, or they're the direct opposite and they go for orbital strikes all game. So it's a bit of a 50-50 on what you're gonna get with that, but it's definitely a real and present danger. Twins are prone to slug, yes, but that little gremlin Victor is actually pretty darn good at taking out one survivor quickly as well, so don't think they're a one-trick pony and all they do is slug. They're perfectly capable of tunneling too. Spirit is not only lethal in the 1v1, but her community is not exactly relaxed. Her mains always somehow made Nurse and Blight mains look calm, and that is, it's impressive for sure. It's something. As for Wesker, his infection ability kind of makes it stupid not to focus on the same survivor constantly. Survivors who are slower and can be insta-downed make for easy money, and Gary needs a new pair of shoes. So Weskers are gonna do what they have to do, and you can't really blame them for doing it either. And then there are some communities that are just a little meaner than others. So for example, Xeno mains will tunnel the heck out of you and then poke a hole in your head for all your troubles. Chucky players will tunnel the heck out of you, and then they will flip you off and call you obscenities. Ghostface players will tunnel the heck out of you, and then they will give you a very personal bag of tea made explicitly for your pleasure. So a little bit of nastiness from those three, but at least it's mostly funny. I find Dredge and Demogorgon mains to be more likely to tunnel than the first category, but less likely to tunnel than the others I've mentioned lately. I chalk this up to them being simple creatures who don't really worry themselves with matters of morality. You know, they're not asking about the right and wrong of tunneling. They're just gonna do it when they feel like it. Still, it is probably best to padlock those lockers and seal off those portals, because these bad boys are likely coming back for you. It's just not a guaranteed thing. I find Artist and Plague to be rather similar in many ways. Not only do I want them both to step on me, but they also both seem inclined to proxy camp and then to tunnel out the recently rescued survivor. So, you know, not cool. Something similar exists for the Doctor, but it's kind of hard to blame him because I feel like 90% of the reason you play this character is just to roleplay as a certifiably sick dude. So being a little mean is kind of expected and in character. Our next category has 9 entrants and is the one I titled Definite Tunnel. And the best way to describe these killers and their habits is to imagine that all of them now have the same terror radius. That terror radius is Mark Henry's entrance theme from WWE. You know, the one that just keeps this loop going where it keeps saying somebody's gonna get their butt kicked, somebody's gonna get their wig split, which means your head busted open. That somebody is you, by the way. You're that somebody. These are the killers who are almost definitely going to tunnel you out. And to start it off, I want to talk about the Singularity. This dude used to be a 3-gen machine, get it? And even though that's been nerfed, he can still be a little nasty. I love Hux, and honestly, I can't even blame him for tunneling. A computer taking the most mathematically sure way to victory is so in character that it's actually immaculate. After Hux, I'd like to talk about killers who are simply built to tunnel. Clown can get back to the hook with his yellow bottles. He can do that very quickly. And then he can use the purple bottles to make sure the victim does not actually make considerable distance. There's also the fact that lore-wise, he's just a mean bastard, and kind of like Doctor, it's like, yeah, you kind of expect people to get into it, at least a little bit. So there is that. Trickster may be handsome, and he is handsome, but he's also a tunneling son of a gun who best utilizes his power when he can bust a fat main event on both the unhooker and the unhooky. So watch out for that. He earns his place here. And then you have the Deathslinger, a lethal king of 1v1s, who also just so happens to move like a senior citizen in the left lane, which is to say very, very slowly. Also like a senior citizen, Slinger has a gun and is prone to get a little too lenient with the castle doctrine, so expect him to pursue you well past the point of his property lines. I would also like to take this time to absolve the hag of her tunneling crimes because, I mean, what did you expect her to do? She's short, she's slow, her TikTok account has no clout, and she's packed full of enough gumbo to kill 10 regular people. She needs this, and gosh darn it, I'm gonna let her have it. I like the hag. Two people I will not absolve of their crimes are Sadako and Sir Tarhosh. Sadako's power would make you think she's going to spread the love and target a little bit of everyone, but that's almost never my experience against her. This watery tart has had bad vibes from the moment she got the carpet wet, and nothing has gotten better ever since. As for the knight, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. His goon squad looks to him to be an example, and I fear he has let the gooners down. I'm also worried that the definition of goon may have changed over time, but oh well. I'm too lazy to look it up. I'm fine as long as it's not crude, right? But yeah, no, Tarhosh and his group of problematic bachelors are definitely going to tunnel you out. Finally, we get to the final two in this category, some of DBD's most prolific tunnelers. Firstly, there's Pyramid Head, who serves as the best example of what I was talking about with Hag, where it's like, what did you expect him to do? He can ignore DS, he doesn't have to worry about Sabo builds, and he can do away with altruistic teammates like he's James Sunderland having a pillow fight with his wife.
Well, this
Are you serious?
Well, this was written.
Are you serious?
This was written years
Did
ago.
you just write that?
I didn't write
Did
it.
you just say that?
No, I read it. Yeah.
This guy is the ultimate tunneling machine, which, in my view, makes him DBD's tunneling king in his own way. And if old Triangle Noggin is the king, I guess that makes his friend Nemesis the tunneling queen. Aw. There are enough memes about this one that I'm going to go ahead and just assume everybody's on the same page here. Nimmy tunnels. It's what he does. Lore-wise, it was what he was bred in a lab to do. Nobody does it more consistently than good old Nimmy. Well, okay, except for one person. There's no way around it. The Wraith is such an avid tunneler that he deserves his own tier, which is why I put him in what I call the quote, "why do I hear boss music" tier. Unquote, of course. Shy, reserved, and generally wholesome in his lore, Wraith players do their main a bit of a disservice by being hyper-aggressive tunnel fiends. He will find you, he will hook you, and when you're unhooked, he will be waiting 5 yards away tucked behind a bush to start the chase all over again. Nobody is quite sure why Wraiths tunnel like they do, but I've grown to respect them for it. It's not easy to maintain a reputation for almost 9 years, so rather than screech and rage and seethe over the strategy that he uses, I'm going to give Phil his flowers and call him the best in the world. At one very specific and controversial strategy, but still, best in the world. But those are my takes. I would love to know what you think I got right and wrong down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the love, the support. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. And until next time, I have been Das Food. Bye, friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness.